With Ahsoka exploring unknown space and entirely new galaxies, we found it appropriate to create a holocron about one of the most dangerous and terrifying entities in all of Star Wars lore, one that resides in the unknown space and separate galaxies entirely. There are many terrifying creatures that plague the galaxy, creatures whose reputations are still mostly unknown. Creatures exist in space that can manipulate the energies of the Force in wild and horrific ways beyond the scope of a Jedi or a Sith. Most of these strange beings lie deep in the pages of legends, and very rarely are they brought into canon. But recently, our researchers have discovered that one of these esoteric interspace terrors were indeed brought into modern canon via Star Wars comics. Those who have been with us for a while may know of the terrors of the Star Weirds, whom we have made a couple of holocrons on in the past. These ghostly beings first made their appearance in the Star Wars RPG sourcebook from 2004 called Ultimate Adversaries, but they also got a mention in the Old Republic data files. But until now, they have yet to make an appearance in a mainline story. Well, my friends and acolytes of the Force, the recent few issues of the Dr. Aphra comics, a Star Weird made their first grand debut in canon, and one of the only people to deal with it was Luke Skywalker. So what happened when Luke stumbled upon this terrifying monster of legend? Well, let's open yet another holocron and delve into it. What exactly was a Star Weird? Star Weirds are intercorporeal beings that exist mostly in the vacuum of space, specifically located in the Outer Rim, unknown regions, and wild space. They are incredibly tall, perhaps reaching somewhere around 9 feet, and they are most recognizable by their skeletal features, ragged clothing, and floating white hair. They have long talons that reach several inches in length, and they are always floating in some way. Star Weirds move effectively like ghosts and as spirit-adjacent beings. They are completely unaffected by almost any sort of physical attacks, including blaster fire. It seems that only a lightsaber or use of the Force can even hurt or kill one. Star Weirds are insanely powerful beings that have the ability to travel through hyperspace and survive in a vacuum. They are able to appear and disappear at will, manifesting themselves, searching from prey to devour in deep space. Star Weirds prey on Force sensitives and will go out of their way to find and feed off of one of them if they can locate them. The Jedi had no idea where the Star Weirds came from or what they really were, but the Jedi Order's best guess is that they have something to do with a Sith ritual, as the Star Weirds are closely tied and linked with the dark side of the Force. Jedi Aayla Secura described the Star Weirds as having a distinctly foul and oily presence in the Force. They could also use Force lightning, telekinesis, and Force sight. Among other abilities, Star Wars had the powers of Darth Nihilus, where they were able to drain the life force out of a Force-sensitive individual, and they especially hated Jedi. It seems as though their Force drain power was on par with the legendary Sith Lord Nihilus, as Aayla Secura would also verify in a side comment that the Star Weird was a planet eater, making them far more powerful than they were in Legends continuity, and far more of a threat. In canon, there are very few things that can actually destroy and devour a planet, so the fact that the Star Weirds are capable of this is massively terrifying and a crazy addition to the lore. But the Force was not their only weapon, as they could apparently also manipulate gravitational forces, as Luke would later find out. Their most infamous attribute, however, was their wail. Their banshee-like scream was as loud as a starfighter engine, and it was enough to make one's ears bleed at certain distances and drive individuals insane. During the Great Galactic War of Legends, there was mention of something addressed as the Star Weird Queen, which was also known to attack many members of the Jedi Council who traversed into deep space, specifically targeting Council members. The Star Weird Queen was defeated eventually by Jedi Master Wyatt, who saved his Padawan and fellow masters of the Queen who had come to destroy them. The Star Weirds were far from being mythical to most spacefarers, and there were even entries in the Republic and Imperial Public Databank about these creatures to warn those of deep space travel. According to those Imperial databanks, it was thought that the Star Weirds had gone completely extinct, but it seems that they were wrong. So what happened when Luke actually found one? Well, for this story, we'll need to actually begin back during some time prior to the Clone Wars. Jedi Masters Shaak Ti and Aayla Secura hunted down and trapped a Star Weird with their combined strength and that of a Jedi artifact known as Kaithu's Belt. A small round sphere was the most important part of this belt, and that which gave them their power. Using the sphere, the Jedi were able to trap the Star Weird inside of a crystalline Jedi temple on the planet of Sason. The sphere was placed inside of a bell, and that bell was put inside the crystal temple. And inside the temple was the Star Weird, imprisoned. The way it worked was the sphere gave power to the bell, and the bell would ring with the power of the Force. The ring would be amplified throughout the crystal temple, and as long as the bell continued to ring, the Star Weird would remain trapped. The temple could only be opened with the Force, and it was riddled with traps and security measures to the point where Luke even questioned whether or not it really was a Jedi temple, oblivious to the fact that it was actually meant to be a prison. Dr. Aphra, a rogue archaeologist who worked with Luke Skywalker in order to secure a Jedi artifact that she had heard rumors about. This artifact was Kaithu's belt, and the two would enter the Sason temple completely unaware of the being trapped within it. After traversing the temple's many security measures, which included hollow projected illusions, spike traps, swinging pendulum blades, and even living crystalline monsters, Luke and Aphra made it to the room where the bell was located. They took out the sphere that gave the bell and the temple power, and by doing this, the Star Weird within was unleashed. Luke and Aphra would be at its mercy as it lifted its claws and threw them against the wall, at once beginning to crush them with the Force. Luke mentioned that he couldn't disrupt whatever was happening since he couldn't feel the Force moving. A different version was being wielded. This was because, in a shocking turn of events, the Star Weird wasn't actually using the Force at all, but rather manipulating gravitational energy. They would eventually be saved when R2-D2 temporarily distracted the Star Weird by shocking it. Luke and Aphra would be freed, and they discovered that the sphere would disable the Star Weird so long as it was active, though they had trouble figuring out how to keep it active for long. Luke would only manage to escape the temple after using the reflections of the crystal walls as a distraction to the Spectre. On the landing area outside where their ship was, Aphra and Luke faced down the Star Weird, managing to cut off one of its limbs. As they escaped to their ship, the Star Weird chased after them, but Luke instructed Aphra to fly them straight into one violent storm to lure the Phantom in within them. As soon as they were within the storm, Luke activated the sphere and disabled the Star Weird, causing it to be destroyed within the storm itself. The only way to stop this vile creature was with a convoluted plan that relied on the power of nature and a strong Jedi artifact. Clearly, this creature's reputation precedes it. The terror that the Star Weirds inflicted on deep space travelers was something that hindered a lot of progress in space travel. This was one of the reasons why mapping the unknown regions was so incredibly difficult. Star Weirds are only one of the horrific things that lurk out there in the dark, and clearly, it is even difficult for a Jedi to contain them. But anyway, my friends and acolytes, what are your thoughts on this, and the fact that now the Star Weirds have officially entered Star Wars canon lore? Do you believe that we will see more of the Star Weirds as we venture into new galaxies and unknown space? Do you believe that they will make an appearance in live action, in a show in the future, or perhaps even a movie? If you would like more information and lore about the unknown regions of space, be sure to reach out and crush that subscribe button. Thank you as always for watching, and may the Force be with you.